how we used to farm for hours on the weekends, hoping to get a deer right.
Yeah, Winter, Ace, Eagle, and I would sit there, just us four, for like 2 hours and get like 2.
If we got that. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, we would go up there and we'd have a party trying to EXP, and we'd see one in maybe 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes we'd go multiple trips up there and not get a damn thing. Sometimes we'd go up there and solo on the weekends and not get a damn thing. Just trying to generate one for LS event next week without having to eat up the whole LS nut. In any case, it was worse before that. It used to be that Ulikumi would pop anywhere from 1 to 12 hours after being killed. It was a 16-minute repop on his placeholders, which could be one out of any number of 12 of the war statues that are up there. And back then we didn't know how to ID them, and it wouldn't have mattered anyways, because everyone just slaughtered everything in the room. And it was a big room. And so he'd finally pop, and he would get claimed by another group. You start an event at 5 Eastern time, and roll around 1 in the morning, and you still had not have seen him. And then he finally pops, and a bunch of guild farmers beat you to it by botting it. Recipe for frustration from hell. Endgame before Abyssia was terrible.
But that was just the status quo, so that's what you had to do for years and years.
Well, on the flip side, Limbus was a bit different. It actually offered something a little more fair. You could low man pretty much everything. You could spend, 3-4 people could go to each different zone, and you could have a pop built in under a month. And you would go in and kill Omega, and he would drop a maximum of 3 items. Some were better drops than others, but you would at least see some items for people. Sky was just horrible.
You build a pop in minimum of 2 weeks if you did Limbus twice a week. Or if you had a really big link shell and you could do 4 zones at once, you might build an Omega in 1 event day. You had to be pretty skillful with that though. But then, for any strides that Limbus made, Salvage took them all back and crushed your soul along with it. I spent over 130, maybe 40, I've forgotten now, event days trying to get 1 item. You have 100 minutes to go into Salvage, and then you go to the 2nd floor in Bafla Remnants. You kill these 4 different clans without doing any magic damage to them, and then it pops up an Archaic Rampart. You take that, and then you have another Rampart, which will pop 100 bees over the span of 20-25 minutes. One of those bees, it'll pop a set of 5, basically. 1, and then 15 seconds later, pop another one. The thing about it is that there were only 5 bees that could be up at any given time, and one of them was the placeholder. You never knew what. In those 130, 40, I don't care anymore runs, I saw the NM in 6 runs. That's it. And I got a total of, I still think it was just 2. We saw 2 boots all that time.
Which guy was that?
Many times we didn't even see the NM. Sometimes we'd see multiple pops of the NM in the course of the night.
Which guy was that?
Skirmish for Fedro. Years. We've been doing Salvage for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And we only ever got 2 copies of that item. 1 Aris's Kira, which Lancel has. 1 Usukani Haramaki, which Obsidian has. 1 Morgan Rope, which Danhan has. And then finally, after we pretty much quit Salvage and like, guys, that was endgame before Missy.
Eagle, I don't mean to bring this up, but for Skirmish, I'm not 100% sure that there were actually any placeholders. Because there was that one time I was trying to convince you guys stuff, and I was like, once it pops, just leave it. And then we did, and then all 5 bees respawned.
I know. At that point, I don't know what people may contained on BG. No, the placeholder can repop even if the NM is up. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. sense, because that's not how placeholders work anywhere else in the game. But then again, I've never held an NM like that. I kill it immediately, so I don't really. In any case, we tried so much voodoo, every different which way. We tried popping sets of them to identify which set it might have been in. We would try killing them in sequence while keeping the others alive. That event was just horrible. And then Essie's idea of an endgame challenge originally was, of course, the thing that showed up on Yahoo.com. When they popped Pandemonium Warden and the Link Shell with the best geared people in all of FF11 tried to kill it. And they were battling it for 18 hours. No shit. That was endgame before Abyssia. And then there's Einherjar, but I'm not going to get into that too much.
You skipped over C with all of its PS2 limitation glory.
Oh god, yes! Okay, so when you got inside the Garden of Rufumet, something about the zone was wrong. And every time the Aerons would pop their bracelets, or if they were too close to you and they popped their bracelets and a certain animation was done, people in a certain proximity to that mob would just disconnect if they were on the PS2. It happened all the time. We didn't do much, see, in Ancient Circle, our old Link Shell, me and Ice, because we only had half the manpower we normally did. So we'd go in and have to build the pops for everybody else and then go out and do C. And then there's the whole problem with everything in C looks the fucking same. You can wander through the whole place and at first, it's nice and white and glowy kind of, but then the whole place looks like that. So I don't know what exactly it is about it, but it frustrates people more quickly.
It's the reason it is. It's everything looks the same. It's the same tone, and the way you have to get around is you have to get this little orb thing and open gates for you. Whereas you're waiting half the time.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about because I spent between 7 and 8 hours doing the Quasi-Lumen escort quest, and by the end of it, I swear to God, I went to sleep. I tried to sleep, and that's all I could see in my head for several hours, even after I'd closed my eyes. It's just those glaring, crystalline white surfaces that everything's made out of.
The NMs out there were challenging, but again, the drop rates were really sucky. And then, finally, after you'd gone through everything, you finally popped the Jailer of Luck, and like, holy shit, guys, we just beat the toughest NMs in the game. No. They drop a giant Dragoon Aeron, which promptly hits Chain Spell, and fucking meteors everybody for 3,000 damage. And you're like, what? Fuck! And then he'll do it again. And then, a year later, after they release the thing, when it's still killing people left and right, they release a hint video where basically you can lock his 2 hours that he has. He has access to all 15 of the original 2 hours, including Paul Weir, which makes it suck, but I digress. And then you can lock them if you use the matching 2 hour he just used shortly, like maybe in a 1 second window after he uses it. And then he'll like, oh, well, you just use it, so I'm not going to use that again. Very difficult window to hit. And if you don't, well, then he'll just use it again. People would try.
Oh, that's
they would throw bodies at it. Continually. They will throw bodies at it all day. And then when they thought they had a chance, oh, guess what? He benedictions for 100,000 hit points. And then they started just doing Soul Eater Blood Weapon Zergs with the best armed cracking glove, brittle darts they could. And then SC decided, you know what? Not the way the game was intended. So they nerfed Soul Eater Blood Weapon, so he develops 100% resistance to it within 3 or 4 hits. So then we're back to, what the fuck?
Well, the thing with the videos, it didn't explain anything. They just showed that you could do it. And there's a whole wiki page dedicated to...
No, I've actually heard about that whole
breakdown
debacle.
Of everything.
How everybody was trying to figure it out, and they were like, no, you don't understand. You're supposed to zoom in on the text. That's the trigger. You zoom in on the text on the log a lot.
So then there was the Wall of Justice, where people dragged him over to the wall where the jailer of justice stopped. No easy feat, Mike. No easy feat. And got frozen. And they said, not the way the game was intended, and banned everybody who did that. You know, going back all through this in my head, why the fuck were we playing this game, guys?
That's why Tate quit.
It is. Lost a lot
Why
of
do we
friends.
even leave it as yet?
I quit myself back in 2007. I was trying to level Beastmaster solo from 60 to 70 in the Boyata tree, and it took me 3 months to get like 8 levels.
What were you saying just now, I?
Oh, why do we even leave Abyssia?
Why did we leave Abyssia? Party in Abyssia, man!
Yeah, it was so funny. When Abyssia first came out, it was the best thing ever, you know. Enemies would respawn in 30 to 90 minutes. That was unheard of for things that had a huge drop rate. And then once people figured out how to proc stuff, whoa, you know, drop rates were even better. And then people started complaining a bit, and SE was like, whoa, you know, people can't just stay in here and camp this stuff, so everything dropped to 10 to 15 minutes.
That was beautiful. We could go to LS event and accomplish things. For the first time in this game's entire history, you could get stuff done and not have to completely sacrifice the rest of your life for it. It was incredible. I had a lot of people I knew who quit when Abyssia came out because they're like, dude, we all remember what it was like getting 75 in the old days, and now they're going to make us do it again. We're out. We're just not going to deal with that. You guys have fun. And then we discovered the new dev team really meant it. And you could level up so quickly. So now everybody just levels up a brand new job in a matter of days. I mean, look, I got my mule to 30, and then 2 days later, bada bing, she's level 68 with like 4 hours worth of work in Abyssia. But the end game was the real kicker. It was just terrible, and looking back on it all now, I don't understand how I endured it. The frustration, the drama, because when things would actually drop, it was a big deal. And if you didn't win it, you got frustrated, or at least some people did, because, like, I might never see that again. Wormel legs, a sewed, oh god, the Valor Circuit argument. And then I got 2 of them.
There were so many systems developed for lighting rights, it wasn't even funny. I think the most complicated one I've ever seen was there was a point system. You had to have a show up. You had to also show up for like 90% of the runs, and then people still had to be within like the circle of the leaders. It was crazy.
No, the worst one I ever heard of was I forgot what the rest of the system was that Amber and Amber were working under with Pleaser. You might have seen him shouting in town. But the thing about it was that he could actually order you to use your points for an item if you so wished.
Well, Dell, though she had the points and the person that had rights wanted to pass, they still wouldn't let him.
Correct.
Did you guys used to have a point-based system also?
We tried for a little while, but I wasn't really keen about it, because it just wasn't the way I wanted to do things. And then slowly we began to realize that we were going to have to, because we had people come in, a lot of awesome stuff, and then walk out. And that's when I started to get a little bitter and realize, you know what, fuck all these people. I'm just going to take care of the core crew that have been my friends for years, and they're actually going to stick around after they get stuff. And shortly before Abyssia came out, I was ready to quit myself. Oh god, the Byakko Haidate, let's not even talk about that. ICE lost like 4 Haidate in a row to relative newcomers or outright newcomers because of the way we set it up. And I was getting angrier and angrier, and I'm thinking to myself, do I change the system? Do I not? Because this is really seeming unfair. It's like fair to everybody, quote unquote. But this is like Democrat fair. This is like they wander in, haven't done a shit of work, and then wander out with stuff and just go their merry way. I'm not a fucking socialist. What am I doing with this?
Yeah, no, it was a great system. There's like wish lists. And if item drops that was on your wish list, you could block, which is really cool compared to all the other crappy. You have to attend like 500 raids before you can log anything. And this other person who did 1,000 raids will beat you every time, and it was crap-tastic. But yeah, the leeches love that system as well.
It was always hard to find a good median. For point systems, newcomers who were dedicated always felt screwed over because they had to wait forever, but then people who were always there are like, well, I put my time in, I want to get my stuff. And like you said, for the anyone can lot system, you get all the leeches. It's usually easier if you stop just far enough to let him start casting a meteor and then run out of range. It gives black mages more time to cast. Guess what, you can only gravity him and bind him.